Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Wales-Darby Webinar Wednesdays. We are in our C19 studios in Warren, New Jersey. So a new spin for our spring training series. On the right-hand part of your screen, there'll be a little area there where you can ask questions. If you are a participant throughout this session, when you ask a question, that will get your name logged into our wheel of winners, as I guess it's going to be called. And we're going to put your name in there. And then next Wednesday during our webinar, we'll spin that wheel for this seminar. And you may win a prize, hat, t-shirt, coffee mug, whatever's in the tchotchke closet.
Full expense paid trip.
We're going to take and clean out the closet, so to speak. So please don't hesitate. If you have a question, ask. If you want to be part of this free drawing, say hello to Jim. So that's what we're going to add to our webinar Wednesdays. We got Eric and Jim in the background here going to run questions and run the camera. And today we're going to get you through a little bit about does your customer have hot water? Do they need hot water? We're going to touch on the leak breaker, and we're just going to touch on some recirculation. So this is not going to be a super deep dive. We're not going to get really technical. We'll go through how the units work and how the size and little things like that. But don't hesitate. You have my email on there. If you have additional questions or you need this training for your team at your office, just let us know. So we will get started here. As soon as I get control of the mouse, we'll get started.
Yeah,
it's every technical difficulty that we can experience, we run through them, but we have fun with it. So this is a indoor swimming pool, as I like to call it, and part of that is because we have 5 million water heater failures every year in the U.S., and majority of them, a lot of them come from water heaters leaking. So our average water heater life is 7 to 10 years. Brand X, Y, or Z, that doesn't matter. That's the average life of a water heater, and there are thousands, hundreds of thousands actually, that are beyond 10 years. So a lot of times you may walk into a situation like this where you've had a catastrophic failure, and you're there and everyone is upset and they want to know, what can I do to solve this from happening again in my home? So Taco has created what they call a leak breaker. And how the leak breaker works is there is this device right here, which is the controller. And then here we have, this looks familiar if you're a Taco guy, this looks like a Zone Sentry. And it is like a Zone Sentry, but it's programmed differently and the gears internally are different. And then here we have a valve underneath it. And what this does is this will monitor the water within a pan under a water heater. So this is our leak breaker controller. This is our leak breaker device. It's going to open and close based on what's going on in the system. And you'll see here in a little while on the slide here, this is our item, our disc that's going to indicate if there's water there. So we have a solution. This will fit on any 3/4 standard pipe thread fitting. And we have two models. We have your standard model, and we also have an E-Link model, which gives you the opportunity to utilize one-way communication. And we can either send a text message out or we can send an email out one way. And it's one way for a reason. We don't want you to have the ability to reopen this valve. If there's a leak, the leak has been detected, the controller will see it through the pad will communicate, the controller will then send a signal to the head will then close, that will shut the cold water main off going to the water heater. If we shut that cold water main off, the largest leak we should have is the volume of the tank, and that's if the leak is at the bottom of the tank. If the leak is somewhere at the top or a relief valve failed, you would only have that portion that you would leak onto the floor or into your drain pan. So full communication would take place on the E version. It would send out a text message or an email saying that the water heater has shut off for some reason. And then, you know, when you get home, you're going to have no hot water, and you can go down and take a look to see why that has failed, or you can call your service company before you ever get home and say, hey, go to my house. I got to notice that my water heater valve has shut off, and find out why. So that'll give them the ability to start working on it. So pretty neat device. We give you everything you need for the install in the box. It comes as one kit. You get the controller, the connectors. We also have on here a normally open and a normally closed contactor if you wanted to drive something else. We're not going to power that device, but this will give you the ability to drive it. Okay, you know, you can run through, if you want to run through a relay to shut off a gas valve, or if you want to run through a relay to shut off the electric, you can do that. But we know that an electric water heater, when the element runs dry, it's going to cook the element. On a gas water heater, if we have a leak at the bottom, more than likely it's going to cool off the pilot assembly or the spark ignition system that's monitoring the flame enough that it'll shut itself down. But you have that opportunity here to do so. Or if you don't have an E version, but you have an alarm system within your home, you may be able to use this to send a signal to your home monitoring system, and then that can send you the message that you have a problem with your water heater. So in the leak breaker box, when you purchase it, we give you the leak breaker. We give you the wires and the connectors. We give you one pad. We give you the valve in the head. And then we also give you a step down power cord and transformer to step it down. You have the ability to back this up with 9-volt batteries. I'm sorry, AAA batteries, not 9-volt. So you get your 8-foot power cord, 3-foot sensor for the cables, and that's going to mount in the pan. Pretty nice feature on this little pad here that mounts in the pan. It actually has legs. Okay, and those legs keep it up off the pan. So if there's any condensation that takes place in the pan, it's not just going to trip it and give you a faulty code. So I think I just happened to break these wires off just now while I was doing that. So that's a little bit of a problem, and that's why we're beeping. So we're gonna create a real quick service call here and try to fix that. So yeah, I actually need somebody to run to my car and get a tiny screwdriver that is in the center console. There's a blue cup in the center console, and there's a screwdriver right in there. There's 2 small ones, real tiny ones. So Jim's gonna run out and get a screwdriver so we can put those wires back in, and we'll just keep going with the presentation because we don't want to hold you guys up. So another nice feature here. This, I'm showing you this in front of a water heater, and that's great. But we actually have the ability to hook 10 of these to one leak breaker. So if I were to hook this in multiples, I would just wire in, you know, daisy chain them together. 1, 2, 3, all the way out to 10. And we can go as far as 200 feet of total wire. So basically we're looking at 18 gauge wire. That's really all we're looking at here. This would be 18 gauge wire. We give you this with the unit, but if you want to daisy chain them together, you're just going to take where this wire is plugged in, you're going to put 2 sets in here, and that will go from this one to the next one. If it's only 2, that'll dead end. And I'll show you these waffles. You'll see it on the screen in a little while, but if I'm going to do multiples, I would take these feet out on the first one, move them to here, and I would take this end waffle and break that off. The very last one in the run. So if I'm doing 3 of these, the third one I would leave whole. The first one and the second one, I would break this portion off and take these legs and move them to this position. So again, we can do up to 10 of these in one system and up to total of 200 feet of 18 gauge wire to have multiple systems. So Jim, you might as well come right into play. Hey, and say hello to everybody.
Hello,
You might have to
everybody.
strip these back a little bit, and you're just going to screw them there. If you want to unplug the unit, that probably wouldn't hurt. Scissors, maybe. Okay, so as Jim's performing a service call behind me who said this guy can't do services. So this is the back side of the control. If I just pop this cover off right behind the control, you're going to see all of the boards are here, and that's where your batteries would go. So on a typical unit, without E-Link, those 4 batteries will last you approximately a year. As they get low, they'll send it on a, if you don't have it plugged in, you're good for about a year. If it's an E-Link version, it really chews up the batteries. So it will send you an email saying that your batteries are getting low and that it's time to replace your batteries. So that's something to keep in mind. If you do have the E-Link version, we strongly recommend that you plug it in. Find somewhere, plug it in to a wall outlet. Keep that E-Link unit tight. Look at Jim back there. He is just tearing it up. So that's what we'll do. Yeah, you can't tell this is, a live training, which is good. So you can use the battery backup or plug it directly into the wall. That's fine. I just took a couple of photos off the internet here. This is basically, some guys will actually attach them directly to the water heater, as I did here, or you can take and attach it to the wall, as you see there in the right-hand photo. There's no right or wrong answer here. Just make sure it is secure and it will stay there when you leave, right? We don't want to put it on there with a piece of tape and have it fall and hanging and expecting the wires to hold it. It also may move your mat that Jim's working on. So here is what it would look like if we were to daisy chain multiples together. So you can see there, picture to the left, mark number 3. That's your wiring ports. It's just 2 wires. You strip the wires back, you plug them in under the screws, and you can see your 4 legs there. The reason we're showing you those 2 legs coming out and going back, that's going to be that'll be letter A. So letter A, we're going to snap the end of the waffle off of that. We'll daisy chain to B. We'll do the same thing. We'll snap the end of that off, and then we'll daisy chain to C, and we'll leave that one on. That's the last one in our chain. So that's how they would work. So theoretically, I could put one under my wash machine. If my piping is right, I could put one under my water heater. And if I had maybe a bathroom or something close by and I wanted to monitor the toilet or whatever, I could put it under the toilet. And if any of those 3 devices leaked, that will send the signal to this motor, and then this motor will take and rotate closed, and that will shut the cold water main off to the water heater. Take-home device could be on any brand water heater, could be on an indirect, anything that we're putting water to, and Jim has had a successful service call. All right.
150, thank you.
Yeah, see you later. All right, so we had an error. This is red. Let's just rotate this around a little bit so you can see this. All right, so I'm just going to hit the open, and you can't hear it probably, but it just rotated to the open position. So this is a very serviceable item. Again, it's going to attach directly to the water heater. All I do is push it on this little lever. There's a little lever right here on the zone valve. Well, it's a zone valve head. Push in on that, and you can lift it off the body. On the top of the valve, just trying to get a better shot for you, you have a manually open, manually closed option on the valve. And then I'll just spin it this way. And here's the little lever you're going to push to remove the head from the valve. So when you're installing the brass body valve, this is a 32 gallon per minute flow rate through this valve. So if you have a smaller home and you want to use it for a whole house shutoff, that's also an option. But if you have a large 1-inch main and there's a ton of water being used in the home, 32 gallons a minute may not be enough. But we do have the ability to flow 32 gallons of flow through here. This will also exercise. It's programmed into the controller to exercise the valve to open it and close it. This is, I'm not going to say it's a true ball valve, but it looks like a ball valve inside. That's how it operates. If you've ever seen one of our Zone Century heating zone valves, internals on this kind of look the same. This just has the ability to flow more water. So to put this back on, you just line up the needle and push it down back in place. So this is Velcroed right to the side of the unit. It's plugged in. This is our little water mat here that's going to sit down in there, and I'm going to take a wet rag and just put some water to it. You hear the alarm going off?
Never heard that before.
The valve just rotated closed, and the water main now has been shut off. So there could be a leak, you know, in the tank, or it could be, you know, if we had multiple setups, let's say at the wash machine. The nice thing about this system is these are reusable. So I'll just take a dry paper towel. I'm going to dry this off. Hopefully I got that dry enough. And then I'm just going to go here and I'm going to stop the alarm. I'm going to hit the open valve. And I have proved that this is dry enough, and I can put it back into the pan and have it ready to go again. So that is the leak breaker. That's how it works. Try to rotate it this way a little bit, just so you can see the valve a little better. This is Uponor ProLogic piping. I'd have my cold water main coming in. It would go in to the cold water inlet of the water heater. I'd have the hot water here. My hot water draw would be here, going to multiple outlets into the multiple appliances in the home. If I have a failure at the tank or anywhere else that I'm monitoring with one of these pads, this valve will drive closed, shut the cold water mains off coming in, and that will do it. Any questions on that, Jim?
Nothing.
Good.
Nothing.
All right, pretty simple device, cost effective, very robust. If you compare it to some of the other items in the marketplace, you'll find this is a very robust system and it works very well. It's been a pretty popular item for us.
Okay. Interesting question that just came in.
Sure.
If it were a gas heater, should we worry about the water turning off if it notices a water drip? We got a leak. But is it true that the gas will still want to fill?
I got it. Yeah.
The gas and potentially be a danger.
Yeah, we get this. That's a question we get all the time. So, all right. So pretend this is a gas water heater. Work with me. It's electric, I know, but pretend it's gas. So down here, I have a gas valve, which is my controller, temperature controller, right? Everything. So that gas valve is here. My burner's under here. My tank's above. Exhaust is at the top, let's call it. Okay. So I get a leak at the top. I get a drip, 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 and it goes down into the pan. And I recognize that, and I shut the cold water main off. My leak's at the top. Let's say I lose 2 or 3 gallons out of the water heater. My gas valve is just going to activate to maintain temperature that this control is looking for, right? We can't draw any water into the home. All we're going to do is maintain the temperature within the tank and the amount of water that's left in the tank. One scenario. Wouldn't matter if the gas was shut off there or not, right? Now let's say our leak is all the way at the bottom of the tank. And I'll just say the leak is in the flue pipe to start. So if the leak is in the flue pipe or in the crown sheet, that will drip down onto the burner, and probably eventually, if you have a standing pilot, it will probably put the standing pilot out. Or if you go to ignite, we're probably going to saturate enough of the electronic appliances in there that it will not allow it to start. If it were a leak, let's say on the external portion of the tank and nothing in the gas train is seeing it, you will leak into the pan. It will shut off the water, but you will still have potential of a flame in the unit. That's probably the worst case scenario that you could come up with. But again, it's only going to run till that aquastat on that controller hits temperature. So we give you those normally open, normally closed contactors. So if that is a concern of yours, and that's why we have these here, if that is a concern, you do have the ability to come out of these contactors, go through a relay, and shut the gas off. You can put an actuator valve on the gas line and shut the gas off at the same time that you shut off the water main going in. So great question. Your name will be on the wheel of winners. So no, that's a really good question. We get that all the time. It is a concern for some. We have not heard of any problems out there yet, nor do I want to hear of any problems. So if you want to protect it that way, that's a good plan.
Thank you, Joe.
Any other questions on that?
Sir.
Okay, so we are going to keep rolling along here. So domestic hot water recirculation. Most homeowners really don't understand why when they go to a hotel and they turn on a water spigot in the sink at the hotel, I have hot water right there. My wife yells at me quite a bit because every time she turns on the hot water in the sink in the master bathroom, she's there waiting for X amount of time to get hot water because I haven't had time to install my hot link system. So shame on me. But most people don't understand. Everyone on this call understands recirculation or has some idea of what recirculation is. Homeowner has no idea why there's hot water at the sink at the hotel, but there's not hot water at the sink at their house. And we don't really talk recirculation in our area much, but if you were in California or somewhere where water is a real high priority and there's not a lot of it in some of these areas, recirculation is a must because they don't want to waste water. We'll get into that. So why has this changed? When I go to my grandparents' house, I don't ever remember waiting for hot water. And that's because things change, right? My grandparents lived in a house, might have been 1,000 square feet, and that was fine. Now with these McMansions out there, we're getting into bigger, larger homes, which means larger diameter pipe, longer pipe runs. And basically what it turns into is you're waiting to get the water coming out of this water heater out 50, 60, 70, 80 feet to a faucet in your, let's say, master bedroom, master bath, right? So that's the difference of then and now. So you talk to, I talked to my father or my grandfather about this, and they look at me like, you're crazy. Okay, right. Based on the footprint of the home you live in, it is crazy. But when we get into these bigger houses, it becomes reality, and we'll go through and show why. Okay, so what does it mean? Basically, it means, we have more fixtures now within a home because the homes are larger, and there's always restrictions on the fixtures within the home, even though we've installed maybe a 1-inch main now running through the house to support all of those fixtures. It really doesn't matter because when we get to the faucet, that's going to become our choke point. Our shower heads are now, 1.5 to 1.75 gallons of hot water per minute, where, unless you have a human car wash shower, that's the standard. So we have larger diameter pipes which hold more water, and we have lower flow faucet heads. So we just wait longer and longer and longer. So what does that do, right? That wears on us. So the larger the home, the greater the waste. A family of 4 wastes about 32 gallons of water a day waiting for hot water. What does that mean to you? That means 12 to 14,000 gallons of water per year. You're just turning on the faucet and letting it run down to the drain, waiting for the water to arrive. So that is a concern. And we want to make sure that you have the resources and understand what you can do to allow that homeowner to not waste. If you pay for just water coming in, that's great. It's pretty cost effective. But if you pay for water coming in and a sewer fee for what's going out, that's when this really comes into play. That's when this can be a conversation with the homeowner. Start with the conversation of, hey, how long do you wait for hot water? And then that can open up a whole opportunity basically for your business. And the areas you work in, where people are paying for water coming in and sewage going out. So this is just a typical home. It's got a water heater. It's got a wash machine. It's got a sink. We're showing you a shower, and we're showing you a vanity with a sink. No recirculation. So what we are talking about here by wasting water if this happens to be the vanity in my master bathroom that's 80 feet away from my water heater, every morning I'm going to get up, I'm going to turn on the hot water to hose down, and I need to clear this whole line of the water that has been sitting in that pipe overnight, which is, let's call it 70 degrees, 60 degrees, whatever you want to call that temperature. So that's 80 feet. I'm going to flush that cold water out. It's going to go directly down the drain. And then after, let's say, a minute or two, whatever the number is, I get hot water there. Well, we have the opportunity that we can change that. So as you can see in this home, there's no provisions for recirculation. There's not a dedicated return line that I can just install a circulator and have that go around and move the water around that system for me. So Taco has come up with what they call a hot link valve. So this is what the hot link valve looks like, and you can see it on the screen. And this would mount directly to, let's say, the vanity that we just looked at. We give you the screws, everything you need to mount this. Okay, and it would sit in this position. And what this has the ability to do is internally there is a bypass. So you would take your hot water and you'd put this in, your recirculation pump would move the hot water out of your water heater, flow through this valve. It would use the cold water line to return that water back to the water heating appliance. Okay, so there's pros and cons there, right? We're moving some hot water to the valve. Internally here, we have a little device that sees the hot water and it closes. So think of a bimetal clicker. So the hot water will come in. We're going to see hot water here. That will pop and click, and that will shut down the flow of the hot water going across this valve, moving that warm water back down the cold water pipe. And I'm going to just pull up a cutaway here so you can see the internals of this unit. So here is that thermal disc. That's what's going to pop up when it sees temperature. What will happen prior to that is we can put it on a program timer. We'll go through a bunch of different ways to do this, but we're going to have the water coming in. This will be warm water. We'll be pushing through our thermal disc. There's a built-in check valve. This will pass 0.2 gallons of water. So this will not work with a tankless water heater. Okay, we're going to push through here. We're going to push that lukewarm water back down the cold water pipe back to the water heater. When we see, let's call it approximately 105-ish degrees, this thermal disc will pop closed and there will be no more bypass taking place. So now I have hot water waiting right here at the hot link valve, which will then send water directly to my sink. So this is a little scenario of what's going to happen. So this is prior to the clicks on closing. My hot water heater is generating hot water. Let's say I have a timed circuit. So at 5 o'clock in the morning, this comes on, and I expect to have hot water there by 5:30 when I get out of bed. So I turn that pump on at 5 a.m. I push all of the cold water out of this hot water pipe and push it back down the cold, back to the water heater to be reheated. And when I get to a 100-ish degrees, 105-ish degrees, this thermal disc will close. And now I have hot water sitting right there at the faucet. So when I get up at 5:30, I have everything ready to go. That's how this hot link bypass works. And pretty unique feature too. I think we're the only ones out there where you can do a service on the valve itself. We have a screen here. If this valve, you ever had a problem with this valve, it can be removed. You can go in and see if there's dirt, debris, anything going on within the valve. So this can be maintained right at its location where it is. You don't have to remove it and put a new one in. You can check it and see exactly what's going on. And that's the hot link. So what would that look like in a system? Okay, so here's a system where we did not have a dedicated return line. This is the same system I showed you a little while ago. What they did here, they added a 006E3, and they added a hot link to the furthest appliance from the water heater. So now when this turns on, it's going to come up. I now have hot water to this point, so my washer's not waiting for hot water. I now have hot water to this point. So this sink, called a kitchen sink, is not waiting for hot water. I now have hot water to this point, so my shower's not waiting. I now have hot water to my vanity in my bathroom, and that's no longer waiting for hot water. And prior to getting that thermal dish up to temperature, I was pushing some of that lukewarm water back around through this cold pipe back to the water heater. So is this a absolutely perfect system? No, because we are going to get some lukewarm water in our cold water pipe. But for someone who does not have a dedicated return line and wants to stop wasting water, this is a great solution. And if I had a need to put a second hot link under this kitchen sink, I could do that also. And basically what this is just going to be geared on is sizing this circulator correctly to make sure that we can move the amount of water that we need to support both of those devices. It's really geared on the length of the run. Okay, looks like Jim has a question.
We've got a couple of questions. So
Okay.
we're going to go from hot link and then we're going to go back to the leak breaker because a couple of people came up with some stuff.
Okay, good.
So what happens when is the pump deadhead, basically? Bob's asking a question. What happens when we do shut off
In this system?
in this system?
Okay, in this system, right. So yes, it will deadhead. But most of our kits now, we're driving them towards the E-series circulators, which they can modulate. So deadheading it is nowhere near as critical as it was in the past. And you know, we're not really going to hurt the pump. If you want to run it on a timer, you can run it on a timer. Bunch of different ways that you can do it. But the real nice thing about these 006s, and I'll do it now, I was going to wait a little while, but on the 006 box, this actually tells you your distances. So if I'm going to set this on low, right, I got my distances here. So if I am 200 feet or less, I'll be on low. If I'm 200 to 350 feet, I will be on medium. If I'm 350 to 500 feet, I'm going to set it to high. So that's the other nice thing Taco has done. They've started to tell you information on how to size this circulator without really going into too much detail. They also give you on the back all of the different circulators that it has the ability to replace. And I'm trying to get this right so there's not a big glare on there, just so you can see it. We also give you on these circulators, you can see here that there's just a thread connection on the circulator. So what we do is we give you all of these different options here. You can pick whatever type of connection point you would like. They're sold separately. This is what the connection point would look like. Okay, this one here, they wanted iron pipe thread. So these tail pieces, I'll call them, these work with all of our mixing valves and all of our 006 E series. That's what we use. So we give you the option of how you want to pipe up your system. So yes, we will deadhead a little bit, Jim, but it's not going to really hurt that circulator.
Okay.
What else
Again,
did you have?
And again, like you said, it depends on how they want to control it.
Absolutely.
You really don't want anybody running these things 24/7.
No, and we're going to get into that, right? We want these to be on-off circulators, whether you do it with a timer, whether you do it with an aquastat, or whether you do it with, we'll get into next, our smart plug.
All right, so back to leak breaker.
Back to leak breaker.
Question came in, can it operate two valves if it was in a washing machine application?
No, probably not enough power there. It's built to operate one valve. If you just wanted to do it for the washing machine only, you could. If you want to do it for the hot water heater only, you could. But if your plumbing is of such to where if I came out of my, if I'm just worried about the hot water side, I could protect it there. If I'm just worried about the cold water side, I would probably have to protect it at the wash machine.
Or sometimes guys do use it as a whole house.
If you're under 32 gallons per minute for the whole house, you can use it for the whole house, yes.
Another question from Peter, the dry contacts, what are their rating?
Well, Pete, if I had my goggles on, I might be able to tell you, but at this moment, I can't tell you that. I know it's not a big rating on those dry contacts. They're not there to drive anything really. They're just there to be a contact point. You have to run through a relay. You have to run through a relay.
So here's something that somebody suggested, Wayne suggested this, to use a field control TA-2.
Yes, that's if you want to shut off your gas valve, I believe that's for.
Right, right.
Yeah. Right, it'll break the thermocouple, a field TA-2, field control TA-2. We do have a bunch of guys that use that. Thank you, Wayne. That's a great suggestion. You are on the wheel of winners, Wayne. So, all right, great. Keep them questions coming. Sorry we're laughing, but we try to have fun with this, guys. I mean, we're not in person with you guys, so we can't joke around in the classroom like we normally do, or at your shop like we normally do. So, yeah, a little bit like Saturday Night Live, but 6 a.m., a little different. So we'll keep rolling here. If you're lucky enough to go into a home where there is a dedicated return line, and what we mean by a dedicated return line, if you're unfamiliar with this, is this hot water line right here becomes a dedicated return all the way back to the water heater. So that makes it really easy. If you have a dedicated return line, now you just have to look at it and say, oh my goodness, how do I do this? What's my flow rate need to be? What does my head pressure of that circuit? What is the BTU that I'm replacing to size this circulator for my recirculation loop? And we can't really use the formula, the universal hydronic formula that we use for hydronic heating that Jim and I preach daily. So here it's a little bit different. The flow rate is going to be minimal, right? We just need to trickle water across that area to make sure we have hot water to a sink. The head pressure is going to be the head pressure. It's going to be what it's going to be based on the distance of that pipe. The BTU, this is key here, because really all we're doing is we just need to replace the BTU that pipe is losing into the home. So if I have an insulated pipe or an uninsulated pipe, that becomes important for me to know. And this is like a deep dive, right? So we're not going to sit here and break this down because this class was not set up that way. We have a time frame we're going to try to keep within. We posted. So if you want to dive deeper into this, we can. But really, what we've done is we've broke it out to, if I have a 1/2 inch supply pipe and I have a 1/2 inch return pipe, and here are my distances. Here's the maximum distance that I can go with any one of these circulators, whether it's a 003, a 006, or a 008, or a 006 IFC. You put the internal check valve, whatever you're doing here. If I have a 1/2 inch supply pipe, a 1/2 inch return pipe, these are my maximum length of runs with these. So we put that out there for a couple reasons. Number one, every pipe has a velocity specification, and we need to make sure we stay under that. We have actually seen PEX pipe wear out. We've seen copper pipe wear out based on hot water going through it with too much velocity. So we give you some of these guidelines here to try to stay within the specifications of the pipe manufacturers and within the specifications of our circulators. So most common, this is probably the most common that we see out there. You would have a 3/4 main, and then it would be a dedicated 1/2 inch return line. That's the most common one that we see. In larger homes, you'll see a 1 inch main with a 3/4 return, but we put up here 3/4 supply with 3/4 return and 1 inch supply with a 1 inch or 1/2 inch return. So they're the ones you got to be careful in, because that 1/2 inch pipe really restricts your flow. So these are all charts. You can see what your distances are: supply pipe maximum length, total maximum pipe length, right? It gives you all the breakout here. So that's where that information on that box is going to become important. So here you can see on a 006, we can go, supply pipe maximum distance 275 feet and total system up to 550 feet right here on the box again. So if you have a system like that, it would be set to the high position, and you would be able to get the correct flow and the water movement to keep hot water at that device. So right on the back of this 006 E3, there's a little feature here where you can put a screwdriver in there. Don't be Superman when you do that. Just put it in there. You're just going to rotate that around a little bit, and you can pick your setting, and that will adjust this is a DC driven circulator, right? We bring AC current to it. We flip that right here in this green portion of it, and then this black portion right here is the motor portion. So we'll take that current, we'll flip it to DC voltage. We'll drive this with DC voltage, 85% more electrically efficient than a typical AC driven motor. So that's just a quick little, basis, size and length of the pipe, and help you with some sizing for that recirculation pump. All right, so here's that dedicated system. We sized it, and we just put this 006 E3 right there, and that will take care of that circuit of pipe based on the footage and the size. So I was going to go through this here, but we kind of talked about it already. So the biggest thing is to know is you have to figure out what your connection points are going to be. When you buy this 006E, again, you're going to pick your connection points, and these tail pieces are sold separately unless you purchase some type of a kit. Like if you buy a hot link kit, a plus kit with the circulator, it will then in turn give you those fittings with the kit. But you can see here, very low wattage. Nice feature here too. It's got the LED light, so you know if it's running. Got your speeds. Works really well. Pretty popular circulator for us. This is just the performance curves based on those settings again. So if I'm on low setting, I'm good to 200 feet. I'll work between 2 feet of head, 4 GPM, and call it 5 feet ahead and call it 7 GPM. That'll be on low. On medium, I'll work all the way up to here. On high, I'll be here, and then if I max it out, I'm going to be way up here. That's a large system, getting up into 13 feet of head, and all the flow rates that we're looking for. So a lot of adjustability here. It's not a one size fits all, but you can see this is a very flexible circulator and works really well. So now that we kind of understand that circulator a little bit, what does this system look like? How's it going to work? So Jim just mentioned a couple minutes ago that we never want to see a recirculation circulator running 24/7, 365, right? Just that's like turning this was an AC driven circulator. That'd be like turning on an 80-watt light bulb and leaving it on 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. A lot of wasted energy. So you can control it with an aquastat. That's one way. You can control it. We offer a circulator like this that has a timer on the back. So you can control it if you have a normal, 8 to 5 type job, and you're getting up and showering the same time every day and getting home from work the same time every day. You can program those times in on the, we have an AC circulator with a timer on the back, and that's fine. And then for the jobs that are already currently installed with brand X, Y, or Z, and the jobs that you may want to be installing now, we offer what's called a smart plug. So this smart plug will take a standard recirculation system, residential, and you'll plug this directly into a wall outlet. You can put a power cord onto a circulator. You will then plug the circulator into the smart plug. The smart plug has the ability to understand what's going on within your home. It has the ability to, I'll throw some features and benefits up on the screen for you, and I won't read every one to you, but probably the most important one is the smart pulse and vacation mode and an exercise function. So if you have a typical 8 to 5 life, you're going to put this on. It's going to run a couple days, start to understand how you use hot water. How does it do that? It comes with a little sensor, and this sensor records every what we call hot water activity in the home. This would go on your hot water pipe leaving your water heater, and every time you use hot water, this device will remember that. So if you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you take your shower at 5:15, this will remember that. And then every day before you wake up, this is going to tell the circulator to come on and start moving that hot water around the home. So at 5:15, when you turn the shower head on, hot water is waiting for you. That's what this has the ability to do. If you have a little crazier lifestyle, like probably most of us on this call, where you may be getting called out 6 in the morning, 8 in the morning, 10 at night, whatever it may be, you can just put this into what we call a pulse mode. And then what it'll do is it'll run 2 minutes out of every 10 minutes, 24 hours a day. So you've reduced, 8 minutes of runtime every 10 minutes throughout the whole day. But it will still keep hot water to that faucet when you get there to use it. So this will work with brand X, Y, or Z. It's not just because it says Taco on there. You could plug that purple pump into this if you need to, and keep that from running 24/7, 365. It just makes it more efficient for the homeowner. We've also, believe it or not, we've solved some I'll say premature tank failures with this device, especially where you have water conditioning, where it regenerates 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, right? Where a Recirc system is running 24/7, 365, and we're dumping all of that regenerated water into the hot water tanks and eating away at the anode rods and then causing premature tank failure. This became a pretty popular device on that job site, and we've extended the life of those water heaters substantially. So think outside the box, be a little different than your competition. A great device to use, whether it's in kit form or a solo device, really works well. So then we get into some of these different kits that we offer. So in front of me here, I have, this is a Taco HotLink Smart Plus E system. And in that system, I basically get everything I need to do a full system connection. I get the smart plug, I get the HotLink, and I get the 006 E3. In addition to those items, I get the connectors for the 006. I get stainless steel hoses because I need to disconnect the 2 hoses that are currently going to my faucet. I need to install my HotLink, and then I need to reconnect. So I would need 2 additional hoses. We give you all of that in the box, including the screws to mount this. So this would go under the sink. This would go under the sink. The 006 E3 and the smart plug would go at your appliance, your water heater appliance, whatever that might be. I'll just say in the basement. All right, if it's in the basement. And again, there's the curves that it would work on based on the length of that run. We can set it up to whatever curve we need and go ahead and fit the home perfectly. So this is just showing a close-up of the dial on the back of the 006 E3. And based on that system right there, it says here we need it on high. Not on max, we're on high. If you get into the tankless world, or you get into a larger system that's tied to a tank, we can have the Taco Genie run on your command. That's why it's a Genie. It can run on your command. We can do this several different ways. We have a push button, or we can monitor. So when you walk into your bathroom, we would know that you walked into your bathroom based on this motion sensor. That would turn the circulator on, and that would get the tankless water heater fired up and pull the hot water out of that tankless water heater and bring it up to your faucet. So that is an option. And we can, there might be a downside here, right? It's going to be a little larger circulator. And normally that will mount under the sink. So if you put this under the sink, this is usually going to be like probably a 0011, because the head drop of this tankless, and that's every tankless. I know that says A.O. Smith on there. Well, we're the A.O. Smith guys. That's why it says A.O. Smith. But this could be brand X, Y, or Z. And they all have a very high head drop. The higher the flow rate, the greater the head loss. So it will be a larger circulator that would mount directly under the sink. And this would be an example of the motion sensor. So as you walk into that bathroom, it will tell this to come on. We also have the ability to monitor temperature, about 8-degree swing. So we can turn that on to monitor temperature and keep you in hot water at all times. So what would that look like? Here we're showing it just with a tank style. And this is just a much larger system. And that's why we decided to go this route. And here it is, you can see right here. Here's our remote right in the bathroom. This is under the sink in the bathroom. So now what we're doing is we're just moving, creating a pressure differential, and we're sending the cold water back down this cold water line to come back to the water heater, sending the hot water out and around. And if it were a tankless unit, it would be the same. We're just going to take the cold water. We're going to overcome the head drop. We're going to get the correct flow rate, usually a half gallon of flow minimum to fire up that tankless, and away we go. Again, back to that tankless. The reason that this hot link will not work on the tankless is the check valve inside only passes 0.2 gallons of water. So I would never get to the level of where a tankless needs to fire, whether it be a 0.4, 0.5, 0.6 gallons per minute of water. This will not flow that much. Okay, so just a heads up. I want to make sure we're putting the right appliance in for the application. All right, so here's just your typical tank style, just another breakaway on recirculation. And if it's a larger system and you needed to put this in the, I'll call it the mechanical room, the basement, whichever it is, we can also do it here, and we can sense this remotely and keep hot water to all of those different appliances. So going with that larger type system here, you can see, you know, we're gonna have much higher performance curves. If we get into that 0011, you know, we're up to 26 feet of head. Tankless hot water heater at max capacity could produce up to 30 feet of head loss. So, you know, just keep that in mind. We also offer the same system with a 008. That'll get you up in that 15 feet of head range, and with a 006 down in that 7 feet of head range. And again, these are all going to be low flow. So we're probably going to be flowing these somewhere over here, you know, in the 1 gallon to 2 gallon range. That's kind of where we want to live, to make sure, again, that we're not eroding any pipe within the home. So whether it's a very large home or a small commercial building, you have the options here with a bunch of different recirculation options. With all that being said, we're going to come in a few minutes under that 1 hour time limit that we had. So welcome to the Taco Wales-Darby plumbing family. If this is new to you guys, if you need us, please reach out. We'll be happy to help in any way that we can. And there's just a quick snapshot of all the different items that we spoke about. But yeah, I don't think I would install a water heater in today's marketplace without some type of shut-off device. And hopefully you'll pick ours. So Jim, with that being said, I'm about wrapped up. Do you have any questions there? Anybody else want to get their name in the wheel of winners?
We've got a clean slate here.
Clean slate?
Yeah.
All right. So again, every Wednesday. Oh, wait, last minute.
No, we got to thank you. Sorry.
All right, great. We thank you guys for your time. Remember, every Wednesday morning for the next, I think it's 5 weeks, we do take a week off around Memorial Day. Figure everybody will be away, hopefully having some fun, getting out and about. So every Wednesday, 7 a.m., there's a different topic. If you need a copy of those topics, reach out through email, let us know. We'll be happy to send it out to you. We appreciate everyone's time this morning, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much. Don't forget about HVAC Insiders, and check out our Wales-Darby site if you need any products. Thank you very much.